podcast you're about to listen to is from a book series on post-qualitative, new materialist, and critical post-humanist research. I'm Karin Murris and chief editor of this new Routledge series. You can find it on the following website, www.postqualitativeresearch.com. This chapter is from In Conversation with Karen Barad, Doings of Agential Realism, edited by Karin Murris and Vivienne Bozalek.
Chapter Night Sky, Temporal Diffraction, a Constellation of New Electrifying Insights in Conversation with Karen Barad. Our chapter works with the notion of constellations to help us think otherwise about chronological time. Intricate patternings from insights from before, after, and during Karen Barad's presentation called Troubling Times at the Cape Town seminar flash up in constellations for us as authors in our deliberations of how querying chronological time might have the potential for doing responsible research and pedagogy. Karen Barad proposes that constellations are images of particular material configurations of stars. In the image of a constellation, what has been comes together in a flash with the now to form a constellation. And that's a quote from Barad, 2017. Stars in the dark sky are not the same distance from us, they observe. In the chapter, we examine how the paper on temporal diffraction, performed by Karen as part of the seminar, has inspired our further writing, often in collaboration with our postgraduate students. The constellation has particular relevance for our work in providing an array of familiar and strange patternings that emanate from the seminar and Barad's writings, and that we use to reorient and awaken ourselves to temporal diffraction. Temporal diffraction enables us to understand how the past, present, and future are inextricably entangled, and how the hauntologies of colonialism and apartheid seep into every aspect of South African life. My article with Tammy Sheffer in the Feminist Review on wild swimming methodologies for decolonial feminist justice to come scholarship thinks with oceans and swimming as one form of wild methodology and slow scholarship. It draws on hauntology to think about possibilities of such methodologies for troubling normative academic practices directed at different ways of being and becoming. Situated in the post-apartheid space of South African higher education, which continues to follow and reinstate colonial, patriarchal, and neoliberal capitalist logics, it questions the silences surrounding material histories of subjugation and violence embedded in higher education institutions and the lives of those who enter those spaces. Embodied effective practices such as sea swimming are powerful ways of thinking with the sea and its creatures in creative ways, opening up new imaginaries of scholarship towards a justice to come. Swimming, writing, thinking together, and sharing on social media images such as the one of the quadricolored nudibranch, as you can see here, form part of slow scholarship. The chapter, A Pedagogy of Hauntology, Decolonizing the Curriculum with GIS, with Michalina Zembilas and Siddiq Mutalo, elaborates on how a pedagogy of hauntology might be enacted in a higher education curriculum, taking into account the ghosts of South Africa's apartheid and colonial past. This piece focuses on how GIS mapping and analysis reveal the absences, presences of the there, then, here, now, and the effects of the past, present on people's lives and the land. Situated in an engineering education in the South African University of Technology, the chapter shows how GIS can be used to animate hitherto occluded injustices of the past, using a micro instance of activism in the form of a storytelling intervention. By telling the story of apartheid violence in Cape Town's District 6 through a GIS lens, the affectivity and materiality of forced removals and violent dispossession becomes reified through pedagogical concepts such as a sensibility towards non-linear time, indeterminacy, and discontinuity to address the specters of the past, present. And finally, in a chapter in an edited collection on post-human literacies, edited by Candice Kuby and colleagues, Denise Newfield and I used Tebua to refer to a secondary school literacy project in a South African township school. The chapter refers to a Tebua ontology, though brief and focused on one literacy classroom in a South African township school, as an abbreviated tale of colonial and educational histories of apartheid that live on 20 years after the advent of democracy. These hauntings, as present and future traces of the past, are part of existing and potential conditions and spaces, both political and pedagogic. They include Bantu education, the education for Black children in apartheid South Africa, as distinct from Christian national education for white children, and the current higher education campaign for decolonizing the curriculum in South Africa.
Okay, so in the chapter, I continue by, since the seminar, my conference presentations, books, and papers reveal a greater awareness of how temporal diffraction resists erasures between past and future. Temporal diffraction is particularly generative for childhood studies. Childhood is not something we, in inverted commas, leave behind. Various Baradian invigorations have been inspirational for combating deficit models of education. For example, by diffracting the performative practices of the clairvoyant, self-stinging stingray, the midwife, and the pregnant human body through one another, or through a diffractive engagement with a heron, the snail, the void, constellations, and crystals. They're all figurations I used in various articles since the seminar. This playful use of homologies, importantly not metaphors, has been a refreshing and unusual opportunity in academia for reimagining the role of the educator, often in close collaboration with colleagues and students. This brings the philosophy of agential realism alive in and outside the university classroom. The seminar profoundly disrupted for me notions of inside and outside now and then in higher education. Teaching, for example, through field trips, here with Roseanne, by the way, to an abandoned zoo, an aquarium, and also with the abandoned zoo, Brandon was there too, an aquarium in a park with alien trees, or a beach haunted by violent deaths, among fellow students, thereby generating the notion of planetary literacies. Temporal diffraction makes a critical difference when analyzing classrooms, research sites, and photographs. For example, in one chapter of a book co-written with some of this book's authors, we explore the classroom as a void that is not empty. We wonder what we are missing, not feeling, hearing, or seeing with our human senses in this research site, a grade 2 classroom in Cape Town. The land, skin on which this school has been built is entangled with its apartheid history that is there and not there at the same time, disrupting binary logic and troubling a metaphysics of presence. What is it we are not noticing? Not even noticing we are not noticing.
Returning to the seminar, we now consider what parting insights flash up for us in the thick present in relation to temporal diffraction. One aspect which has troubled and intrigued us as scholars and educators has been the question of the new, as we said before. The hauntology of corona time in the thick now of the present has brought indeterminacy to the fore. Nothing could be predetermined. Temporal diffraction has helped our scholarship after the seminar by bringing the past and the futures into the present and vice versa. This potential for doing justice to reconfiguring the now has been incredibly generative and politically significant. The thick now of the present moment is what Benjamin calls now time, Jetzeit, which is a quote from Karen Barad. Constellations of insights keep flashing up from before, during, and after the seminar, electrifying the night sky. Complex and intricate patternings evident in the night sky provide the potential for our collaborative efforts to think otherwise about chronological time and why this matters for responsible research and pedagogy.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you would like to know more about this chapter, please visit the website www.postqualitativeresearch.com. And please stay tuned for future podcasts.